I know that you've heard of the adrenal glands. So these glands are two tiny little glands that sit on top of your kidneys. And they control quite a few actions in the body, including your stress response, your weight, your blood sugar, blood pressure, and your immune system. The adrenal glands are really quite incredible in that as a species, they are our primary survival organs. But they can also be responsible for when we don't feel well because we're so stressed. And what can happen is we're irritable, we can gain weight, we feel exhausted. The adrenal glands control our fight or flight mechanisms. This is so common in many people. And when we are in danger or think we are in danger, for example, if we're worried all the time, that we're worried we're going to get fired, we're worried about money, we're worried about our kids, what happens is the adrenals will mobilize all the resources to fight or get away from that danger that we're feeling. Historically, as humans, the immediate danger that we used to face were typically short-lived. So the system got activated. We pumped out all the hormones that we needed to make cortisol, which made us think sharp, gave us energy, mobilized blood sugar to fuel our muscles, and we would breathe faster, our heart rate went up, we got high energy, and we got into action. And once we were safe and out of harm's way, all of the chemical processes that just happened resolved, and we went back to normal. Another hormone, insulin, is also pumped out in the fight or flight response. And what this did is it took care of all the mobilized blood sugar, and it would simply just put it back into our cells. Your breathing and heart rate would just go back to normal, and everything in your world was okay. But here's an example of a fight or flight in the animal world. Think of watching a group of gazelles, and they're just around a watering hole. They're calmly drinking when all of a sudden along comes a lion, and it starts chasing the gazelles. And there's all kinds of stress and action all at once. And the lion catches the weak gazelle. And what do the other gazelles do? They just go back to another watering hole, go back right back to drinking as if nothing happened. So everything just calms down. And this is a pretty clear representation of what our nervous systems are supposed to do. In the animal world, constant stress is rare. But in the human world, we've managed to create all kinds of constant stresses for ourselves. Especially, most of them are self-inflicted. When we create new stresses, we many times are still holding on to the old stresses. Therefore, the adrenal glands basically act as shock absorbers to our system. They help us to bounce back from life's many stressors. But when we are just bombarded and we just have too much stress or unrelenting stress, we will pay the price with our health. And I think many of us do experience that on a regular basis. So this is where adrenal fatigue or adrenal stress, which is not always an apparent diagnosis, sometimes these symptoms just manifest and they're not very specific. So it is difficult to give a diagnosis. And the condition is not always well defined, and sometimes it can be different in various people. But here are some common signs that your stress response system is chronically activated or chronically overactivated. Are you having trouble falling asleep, even when you're so tired? You're basically what is called tired and wired. And even when you do sleep, you're never fully rested when you wake up. Do you feel irritable a lot of the time or get angry really quickly? This is another sign of adrenal stress. Do you crave sugar or salt? or maybe certain kinds of carbs that you normally, under regular circumstances, wouldn't crave? Do you get tired around 3 to 4 o'clock and that's when you really need something sweet or caffeine? Are you addicted to caffeine just in order to give you energy or just to wake up in the morning? Maybe you've been gaining weight, perhaps noticing that horrible spare tire that women going through perimenopause and menopause complain about. Do you feel anxious or maybe blue or depressed? Are you getting sick more often? Compromised immunity is another sign of adrenal stress or adrenal fatigue. Maybe your hormones are just all over the place. And this could be from perimenopause or menopause, but many times it can just be a stress response. Or do you have brain fog? Your memory and focus are just not where they should be. Do you feel like your digestive system is just not right? If you are feeling any of these signs, you could be experiencing adrenal fatigue, adrenal stress, adrenal dysfunction. And this could also increase your risk for injury. Maybe your cuts aren't healing properly. You're just emotionally drained. I feel like there is a problem that, like, this is becoming a little bit of an epidemic. So what can you do to nourish your adrenals and get out of this survival mode? Well, believe it or not, one of the best treatments for adrenal stress is not necessarily just supplements or herbs or even a fancy diet. It is simply learning to practice relaxation, checking out and not constantly being in fight or flight, constantly checking your phone. This may look different for some people, but here are a few examples. Be mindful. I talked a little bit in another video about mindful eating and just practicing mindfulness. Breathing, deep meditation on prayer. Many of the techniques that are used, I use in my practice as well as a faster way to fat loss coach and as a chiropractic physician. I strongly suggest eating a diet full of whole foods, nothing processed. Make sure you're eating enough macronutrients, eating enough protein, good carbs and fats, making sure that you're getting adequate amounts of fiber to keep your digestive tract functioning the way that it's supposed to. I typically will recommend 35 grams at least per day. Cut back or eliminate caffeine and exercise, but be very cautious not to over-exercise, because this can actually contribute to adrenal issues as well. That is why many runners find that they get sick easily. Many people who over-exercise may have more trouble losing weight than someone who just exercised in a moderate way. My recommendation would be 30-minute workouts, 5 days a week, and 2 active rest days. I also do recommend adrenal support for my patients. I use something called Adrenotone from Designs for Health that has various vitamins and herbs in it to just tone the adrenals. I also recommend an adrenal tonic by Standard Process. In addition, I recommend vitamin C in the morning, as well as B complex and magnesium. I really hope that you found this video to be helpful, and if so, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I hope you all have a blessed and fruitful day.